EPA reversal on climate policy, a dangerous move. Los Angeles Times. The Environmental Protection Agency's EPA recent decision to overturn a pivotal climate policy is nothing short of a reckless gamble with our planet's future. Imagine a world where industries are given a free pass to spew unlimited greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This is the stark reality we're facing. In 2009, EPA Administrator Lisa P. Jackson took a bold step by signing the Endangerment and Cause or Contribute findings, officially acknowledging the dire threat greenhouse gases pose to public health and welfare. Fast forward to today, and the EPA is proposing to dismantle this critical safeguard, as highlighted by Haley Smith and Tony Briscoe in their Los Angeles Times article. But here's where it gets controversial. This move essentially unchains industrial polluters, allowing them to operate without restraint. Is this the legacy we want to leave for future generations? Critics often argue that clean energy is too costly, yet the truth is that renewable sources are becoming increasingly affordable by the day. The real expense lies in the hidden costs of dirty energy, costs that manifest as devastating floods, raging wildfires, catastrophic hurricanes, and melting glaciers, all of which drain billions from global economies. Add to that the skyrocketing healthcare costs linked to air and water pollution, and the social upheaval caused by climate-induced migration. And this is the part most people miss. Beyond the financial toll, the very health and survival of every living being on Earth are hanging in the balance. The transition to clean energy is inevitable as fossil fuels become prohibitively expensive to extract. So, why delay the inevitable? Why not accelerate our shift to non-polluting energy sources before we inflict irreversible harm? The EPA's core mission is to protect the environment. It's literally in their name. Yet they seem to be abandoning this duty at the most critical junction. It's time for them to refocus on their mandate before it's too late. Margaret Baker Davis, Claremont, poignantly captures the urgency of the situation. But the outrage doesn't stop there. Barry Engelman from Santa Monica calls the EPA's reversal not just alarming, but a profound betrayal. For those who have dedicated their lives to combating climate change, this decision feels like a gut punch. Meanwhile, for the fossil fuel industry, which has long prioritized profits over planetary health, it's a long-sought victory. The endangerment finding has been a legal linchpin in the battle against climate change, recognizing greenhouse gases as a clear and present danger to human health and the environment. To dismantle it is to turn a blind eye to science, public welfare, and the future of our children, all to pad the pockets of polluters. History will judge harshly those who supported or remain silent about this rollback. This is a moment that demands not just outrage, but action and accountability. California, with its history of environmental leadership, must step up and lead the resistance. But the question remains, will we act in time, or will we be remembered as the generation that knew better but did too little? What's your take? Do you think the EPA's decision is a necessary economic move, or a dangerous step backward? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's spark a conversation that matters. EPA's bold move, rescinding Obama-era regulations and empowering consumer choice. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has put forward a bold and potentially game-changing proposal to revoke the 2009 Endangerment Finding, a cornerstone of over $1 trillion in regulations that heavily influenced electric vehicle EV mandates under the Biden-Harris administration. But here's where it gets controversial. If this proposal is finalized, it would dismantle the entire regulatory framework on greenhouse gas emissions for motor vehicles, fundamentally altering the automotive industry and consumer choices across the United States. On July 29, 2025, at a car dealership in Indiana, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin unveiled this proposal alongside key figures, including U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, Indiana Governor Mike Braun, and several other state and federal leaders. Their message was clear. Reversing the endangerment finding could restore consumer freedom, making it easier for Americans to buy safe, affordable vehicles, while also lowering the overall cost of goods transported by trucks, impacting the cost of living for everyday Americans. The 2009 Endangerment Finding served as the legal foundation for the Obama and Biden administrations to impose stringent greenhouse gas regulations on vehicles. These regulations, critics argue, have inflated costs for consumers and manufacturers and created an environment of uncertainty. The EPA's new proposal aims to remove this uncertainty and regulatory burden, allowing automakers to better plan for the future and giving consumers greater freedom to choose from a wider range of vehicles without the pressure of costly mandates. Administrator Zeldin emphasized the long-standing criticism that past administrations manipulated legal standards and scientific data to push their climate agendas, resulting in hidden, expensive taxes that burden American families. If this proposal is finalized, we could eliminate upwards of $1 trillion in hidden costs imposed on American businesses and consumers every year, he remarked. According to Zeldin, the actual threat isn't carbon dioxide independently, but the greenhouse gas emission standards derived from the endangerment finding that have had real economic impacts. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright hailed the move as a return to common-sense policies grounded in solid data rather than political motivations, highlighting the administration's commitment to affordable and reliable energy that supports quality of life. Governor Mike Braun praised the rollback as a win for consumer choice and American competitiveness, noting that Indiana exemplifies how environmental protection and job growth can coexist. Congressman Jim Baird and other lawmakers echoed this sentiment, applauding the end of what they describe as authoritarian EV mandates and overly burdensome vehicle emissions standards. They suggested these regulations stifled innovation and threatened essential industries such as trucking, which plays a critical role in the national supply chain. Chris Spear, president and CEO of the American Trucking Association, expressed relief that the industry can now pursue cleaner technologies without being hamstrung by unrealistic mandates, a point that might spark debate among environmental advocates. Meanwhile, conservative leaders like Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita and Small Business Administration Administrator Kelly Loeffler called the proposal a victory for cutting red tape and reviving entrepreneurial spirit for small businesses nationwide. They portrayed the endangerment finding as a politically motivated tool more aligned with radical environmental agendas than with practical science or economic realities. For newcomers to this issue, the endangerment finding is crucial because it legally authorizes the EPA under Section 202A of the Clean Air Act to regulate greenhouse gases from new motor vehicles. Removing this finding would strip the EPA of this regulatory power, effectively canceling current and future standards designed to reduce vehicle emissions. The EPA projects that doing so would save Americans approximately $54 billion annually by repealing costly greenhouse gas standards, including the contentious EV mandates introduced during the Biden administration. The scope of the proposed repeal covers all light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles and engines, reversing regulations dating back to 2010 for light-duty vehicles and 2011 for heavy-duty models. It even targets specific provisions, such as the criticized start-stop technology feature found in many modern cars, which was intended to reduce emissions. Supporting their proposal, the EPA cited updated scientific research, including studies from the Department of Energy's 2025 Climate Workgroup, which challenged the foundational assumptions of the 2009 endangerment finding. Public feedback will be solicited through a formal comment period, with detailed guidance to be provided via the Federal Register and the EPA's official website. Historically, the endangerment finding emerged from an interpretation of the Clean Air Act that the Obama administration used to justify broad regulatory powers. This interpretation connected carbon dioxide emissions from vehicles combined with other gases to climate change and potential harm to public health and welfare. Despite some of the gases not even being emitted by vehicles, critics argue this was a stretch of the original law's intent, creating a complex regulatory web without clear congressional mandate. Since then, Supreme Court rulings, including Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo and West Virginia versus EPA have emphasized that major policy shifts like these should be decided by Congress, not federal agencies, adding legal weight to the argument for reconsideration. Also, technological and scientific advances since 2009 provide fresh context that the EPA now believes warrants a reevaluation. This latest move is part of a broader deregulatory agenda, initiated in March 2025, aimed at undoing what the current administration views as costly overreach by previous EPA leadership. Administrator Zeldin has also announced plans to revisit other key emissions standards, signaling a comprehensive overhaul of federal vehicle regulations. The controversy here is palpable. Supporters argue this proposal will stimulate economic growth, innovation, and consumer freedom, while opponents warn it could undermine environmental protections and slow progress against climate change. What do you think? Is this a necessary corrective to government overreach, or a dangerous step backward in protecting our planet? Feel free to share your thoughts and engage in the discussion.